Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a super weekend so far. I hope you're having fun, staying energetic, and staying healthy. Students, in this class, we are looking at IELTS answers to questions for Band 9 overall. This is a members chat class with interactive speaking. If you'd like to become a member of our channel, simply click the join button next to the subscribe button. If you don't see that, you can send me an email and I'll show you my email here in just a bit. Students, this lesson is interactive. We will be speaking with some of our members. We will be using our websites, and this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Check us out there. For the general IELTS, please visit us at gieltshelp.com. On both of those websites, we've got lots and lots of help for you to improve your IELTS. And of course, we've got lots of answers to questions. Click this big red button to join the premium package. Welcome, Arda. Hi, Baljeet. Good to see our students here in the class, ready to learn. For the general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. It's the green website. Click this big red button here to join the premium package there. Again, it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We are certified IELTS British Council Test Registration Center and certified agents, so you're in great hands with us, students. And we do have a very special discount still going for a couple of days only. It's for the Lunar New Year. It's called the Tiger 9 discount because it's the year of the tiger. So it looks like this. 30% Tiger 9, 3 days only. And you can get our apps, Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help, from your app stores. And you can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AE Help and GIELTS Help. That's where we share our schedule, daily vocabulary, so check us out there as well. All right, join those courses, use Tiger 9 to get that discount. We've got lots of classes coming up after a few days of break. So we've got this class right now, it's questions and answers. And then we have speaking part 3, which will be for everybody, coming up in about 90 minutes. No class on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then lots and lots of classes on the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, as you can see the schedule there. And if you have any questions, or if your questions don't get answered in this class, just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. Welcome, Prabhasha. Hi, Kelvin. Good to see more members jumping in on the class. All right, so we'll answer your questions here, members. Hopefully you'll have some questions ready for me. And for this session, I want to do something a little bit new because in the past I always answered your questions just by typing. But I would love to actually hear your voice and connect with you. Use the chat on the website. So today you can ask your questions either on the chat or verbally. So you can ask in the stream chat like we did before. And also I will use the website, so you can actually call me and ask me your question and then practice maybe your speaking a little bit too. So of course we'll answer the questions in the order that they are received. I'll make some connections among information where it's necessary. Take notes of your answers and practice. And if you don't get an answer, again, just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. So let me just hop over to the website here, everyone. This is the academic website. And again, members join by using the green button or the red button. Okay. Click the My Student account. Of course, you have lots of information in here as well. And then click the Student Partner Speaking, Accept Speaking. And then you'll be in this interface, and we've got a few people already in here. We've got Namratha, Usman, and Amrit in here. So Calvin, Baljeet, Prabhasha, Arda, if you're in here, you can ask me questions from here as well. Okay, so I'll be looking for our members in the chat. It's kind of a good way to warm up for the next class too, which will be all about speaking part 3. All right, so I'll be checking for your messages here, students, to verbally ask me questions. Okay, so ping me. I'm going to put on my headset so I can hear you when you ping me. And I'll also be looking at the chat for your questions as well. All right, Andika, hello. Okay, so Baljeet has a question, and I'm going to grab Baljeet's question because it's the first one. Okay, and again, students, I encourage you to use the chat also. Okay, so here we go. Let's pop back to the syllabus here. All right. So this is a question by Baljeet. Okay, and I'm just grabbing this directly out of the chat here for everyone. And pay attention to each other's questions because often students have very similar questions. So this is a question by Baljeet. Okay, so Baljeet says, or is asking, Sir, if I have a low score in 10th and 12th grade, does that mean I'm not applicable for study in abroad? Okay, that's a really good question, Baljeet. Nobody's actually asked that very important question before. And by the way, everyone, you can ask me questions about university entrance and immigration. As I said, we're British Council certified agents. I have a lot of knowledge on what is required for attending university and college abroad. That's a really good question, Baljeet. Okay, so let me give you an answer to that. Okay, the minimum requirement for most schools in Canada, US, UK, Australia is a grade average of, for schools, instead of schools, I should say for most universities and colleges. In Canada, US, UK, Australia is a grade average of B or better. You can also think about it like an 80%. Okay. So the Canadian school system, American school system, it works on a letter grade average. So it goes A+, that's the highest, then A, then B+, then B, and then some schools have B-, C+, C. Okay, so these are basically 5 percentiles each octave. So a B, think about it this way, is equal to 80% usually. Okay, so ideally you have a grade average of 80% or better. And that's regardless of your IELTS exam. So even if you have a great IELTS exam, if you don't have 80% average, it might be difficult for you to find a good university or college that will accept you, that is official and can sponsor you for a student visa, okay? So it's not impossible, but it's going to become much more difficult, okay? So keep that in mind. So if you have a grade point average less than 80%, it may become quite difficult to find post-secondary acceptance. Okay, and that's for grade 11, grade 12. Oftentimes they're also looking for grade 10 now as well. So if you have a grade point average of less than 80% in your grade 10, 11, and 12, okay, classes. If you have grade 13, then it would be grade 13 as well. Okay. If you okay, so Baljeet is asking a good question there, I think. Students, again, I highly encourage you to use the chat. So in the website, please ping me here. Andika, Arda, Prabhasha, please ask me here as well, because if we discuss it verbally, I can maybe give you a little bit smoother information. Like Baljeet is asking a really good follow-up question here, like, if I have less than that, then what should I do, right? So it would be a bit easier describing this verbally. So Baljeet's follow-up question is very important, so I'm going to talk about it. So Baljeet in the chat is asking, if I have less than that, what should I do? Okay, that's a very good question as well, Baljeet. All right, so if you have good, I see somebody pinging me in the chat, and I'll check that out in a second. Okay, is it Baljeet? If it's Baljeet, then I can give him a, yeah, there it is. Okay, all right, Baljeet, I'm gonna call you then, okay? So here we go.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Baljeet. How are you?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are
I'm
you?
doing great, sir.
Okay, good. I'm glad you called me, Baljeet, because yeah,
I'm also fine, sir.
Good. I'm glad you called me, Baljeet, because your question is a really good one, and it's one that we never talked about, because so many people are focusing on IELTS and the English proficiency requirement, right? But then, of course, there's this whole other part of university application, which is all of your other marks and grades from school, and people kind of forget about how important that can be, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you asked me that question, that first question of, what is the minimum? And so the way it works in Canada is it's usually a B average, and for higher level universities, so for example, the University of British Columbia, the average is B plus, which is 85%. Okay, so 80% average is the minimum, and then as the universities get better and have a better reputation, that grade point average can go up to 85%. And if students are looking for scholarships, so if you're looking to get some financial help from the university or from other sources, then you should have a 90% average.
Okay, sir. If I have less than that, so I need to do support my education with diploma or other.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you have less than that, there are a few different ways to go around it, let's say. So first of all, you can go around it. Let me just jump back to what I'm doing here with the typing. So There are a few ways to go around it. One is to bring up your grade point average. So I'm not sure how it works in India, Baljeet, but in Canada you can do like a kind of like a repeat of high school courses, especially ones that are bringing down your grade point average. Like let's say that your grade point average would be okay, but your math score is really low, like you got a D in math, right? So then you can redo grade 12
Yes.
math. Or you can do high school classes in college as well. So you can apply to redo some of those high school classes in your college application. So usually high school courses are the ones that start with like a 0 in front of them. So if you go to college, for example, here in Victoria, Camosun College, if you do like math 071, that would be like redoing grade 12 math. Does that kind of make sense? Like you can redo your high school courses in college as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, I have seen some courses from say from Calgary. Like I wanted to apply for that, and I have checked some, and because of the lower grades, then I thought about that I should have taken the course.
Yeah,
Like
so
they provide online and offline as well.
exactly. And these are usually called bridge courses. So you can take a bridge course, which allows you to basically repeat high school courses that were low or low grade. Okay, so you can do that. So there are workarounds. Or as you said, if you have some kind of a diploma, then they will look at your most recent education. So if you finish an official diploma that's recognized and accepted internationally, okay, then they will look at that, but you still need to have a good
Okay,
grade
okay,
in that diploma. So your transcripts still need to be strong. So for example, if you do like, let's say a diploma in English in college in India,
like
and you have
I'm doing a diploma in electrical and electronic engineering
yeah, so if you have to make sure
because
that you
of
have
my
good
lower
grades.
grades.
Okay, I see. And you have to make sure that your GPA is good in that diploma, and it has to be, of course, recognized internationally. And then that can definitely help you to gain entrance into universities, especially in the same major. Okay?
Okay, okay, so
All right.
I got it.
So there are ways to go around it, but you definitely have to have good transcripts. Okay? All right,
Okay,
Baljeet, thank you so much for that question. That was a really good question because I think a lot of people get into a situation where they get a good score on the IELTS, like a band score 7, and then they get surprised that universities are still not accepting them with their transcripts because their transcripts are too low, right?
yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Thanks, Baljeet, for the question, and I'll talk to you later on. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Baljeet, for your question. Okay, so that was Baljeet and Baljeet's question, which was really good. Okay, all right. And I see Bharat is in here, Nutan is in here, and there are lots of others. So stay in there, Bharat, Nutan. I'm going to reach out to you in just a second. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing. Okay. Okay, Prabhasha is asking a question here as well. Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat. So Prabhasha is asking this question, and then I'll take a question from the live verbal chat. So bear with me here. All right. So this is Prabhasha's question here. Okay, so Prabhasha is asking about part 3, and we will have a part 3 speaking class coming up in a little bit, about an hour or so. Okay, And Prabhasha is asking this question here. Let me downsize this a bit so you can see it a bit better. Okay, so Prabhasha is asking, I have a question about part 3. Does part 3 questions always be tricky or difficult? How can we elaborate and bring ideas for part 3? Okay, good question, Prabhasha. So yeah, part 3 is always more specific and it follows part 2. Okay, so this is Prabhasha. All right. So yes, part 3 in speaking is always more specific, and you have to give good detailed answers to get a high band score. Okay. To do that, Prabhasha, this is where your part 2 planning becomes really important. So remember your ideas from your part 2 1-minute preparation time. So remember, Prabhasha, I keep saying that you need at least 2-3 good ideas for part 2. It's not just to have a good answer for part 2, the cue card, but it's also because when you have 2 or 3 good ideas for part 2, you can use those ideas for your part 3 answers, okay, to think of better, more detailed, more dynamic answers, okay? So this is the reason that you need to come up with at least 2 to 3 good ideas for part 2. Okay. Another way to give more detailed answers is visualize your answers. Visualize your answers, and always think of explanations and examples. Okay, we're going to practice that, Prabhasha, in the next class. Remember part 2 cue card that we did yesterday, relaxing place? There were a lot of really good ideas. So we talked about, for instance, the idea of going to Stanley Park. Then we also talked about maybe going to a spa or a Turkish bath for relaxation. So we talked about a lot of good ideas, and think about those for the next class when we ask those detailed questions, okay? All right, let me hop over to the chat again because I love hearing your voices and I think it helps you with your speaking as well. So here we go, and let's take a question from one of our viewers in here. Okay, so I know Bharat was in here, but then Bharat, I don't know what happened there. You got to the end, Bharat. And I saw that you had a question. Let me just see if you're still asking. So are you still there, Bharat? Do you still have a question? Okay. And we'll take a couple questions from here. Bharat says, yup. Okay, Bharat, I'm going to reach out to you then. Here we go. Hi, Bharat.
Hi, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's awesome. You having a good weekend so far?
Yeah, I had just a long walk.
Okay, a nice long walk. That's always a good way to feel the weekend a bit and relax. So Bharat, do you have a question for me about IELTS, immigration, or any other part of
So my question is related to university.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pursuing electronic science and I'm third year student.
Mm-hmm.
So this year I'm going to apply for the computer science.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't a degree of computer science. So my question is that, like, should I go for electronic science or computer science for my master's?
For your so you're applying for a master's degree.
Yeah,
Okay, what is your bachelor's degree in?
My bachelor degree is in electronic science.
Is in electronic science. Okay, so okay, that's again a very good question. Okay, I'm loving the questions that you and Baljeet are bringing today. So it's a tricky one, right? There is a simple answer to this. So when you apply for your master's does not need to be the exact same field as your bachelor's. So let's say you have a bachelor's in computer science and you want to apply for a master's in electronic engineering. It's possible. You can do that because they're close and they're related fields. So you can do that. However, you have to be able to explain clearly to the university, and if you have a supervisor, then your supervisor, why you are making that small kind of change from your specific major. So to answer you in another way, the easiest application for a master's is when you're applying for the same field of specialization. Okay, so if you have a computer science bachelor and you're looking for a master's of computer science, that's going to be the easiest transition, where you don't have to do as much explanation of what you're doing because it's clear, your path is straight. But if you're changing it a little bit, you can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So this, I have to mention in my SOP that I would like to master in computer science.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm a science student.
yeah, so for all of our listeners, I want to clarify what you said there, because Bharat used the word SOP. SOP means statement of purpose. So when you're applying for your master's or PhD, you usually need to include a short letter, 500 words, sometimes it's 1,000 words, that explains your plan for your postgraduate studies, basically where you come from, what you want to do. And yes, absolutely, Bharat, your statement of purpose has to clearly explain why you are shifting slightly from your bachelor's specialization in your master's specialization. So that has to be really clear. Like, you have to say that through my work experience over the last year, I recognize that my passion lies not specifically in electric engineering or electrical science, but in computer science. I am specifically keen on understanding computing because I have been working for Dell or Apple computers, and so you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, and then it is possible. So you can do that. You can shift a bit you can't completely change. So you can't go from, for example, for like a master's degree in ocean sciences. Okay, it's actually not impossible, but it becomes a lot more challenging. Like, you have to prove to them that you could do something like that. Okay, so
then I have to look for someone else that can help me to write SOP, a good SOP.
Sorry,
can the university accept that?
Sorry, can you say that one more time, Bharat? I didn't catch the beginning of that.
Like, I have to look for a person that can help me to write these kind of SOP, because I'm from different stream.
Yeah, and we actually do have that on our website. So we have statement of purpose.
Yeah, I know.
Services. It's, I think it's quite expensive for some people, but we do a professional work, so we can't really do it for any less. On the website, let me just jump here. There's this additional services, and then there's get SOP writing. It's this green one right here. And then there's a huge questionnaire that you have to fill out, which gives us all the information we need to know about, the important details. And then it's $185 US for this service.
No, I had to visit this website.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome, Bharat. That's a very good question, and I think it's one that's on the minds of a lot of people, because a lot of people have a certain bachelor's, but then they realize that they want to do their master's in a slightly different specialization than what their bachelor's is, and yeah, that's okay to do that. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bharat, for that valuable question. I hope to see you in the next class as well, in the speaking class.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye. Okay, so that was Bharat, and that was again a very, very good question by Bharat. You know, if I have a certain bachelor's, can I make a bit of a change when I'm doing my master's? The answer is yes, it is possible. Okay. All right, let me look back at the chat here because I think Arda has been asking. Okay, so Arda has another good one. Okay, lots of questions around university, and it's not surprising because I know that a lot of people are finishing up their applications for the September intake around universities. So Arda is asking a question here as well. This is Arda's question. It's a good question also. Okay, so this is Arda. Arda is asking, sir, can you give information about scholarships for universities for international students to Canada? That's a pretty big question, Arda. It's a good question. It's a extremely big question. Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to answer this generally, but the best is to basically search online first. So Google is your friend in this case. Scholarships are offered by many different institutions, okay? So scholarships are offered by universities. They're offered by certain types of organizations. They're offered at the government level as well. They're offered for various minority groups, so scholarships which are specifically for women, scholarships that are specifically, for example, for single mothers, scholarships that are for outstanding students who have contributed to the community. So there are lots and lots of different kinds of scholarships and bursaries, and it's absolutely a good idea to take a look at these because as long as you are motivated, you can often get at least one or two, especially if you have been a good student. So Arda, the answer to your question is search online with universities, governments, and organizations for different scholarships and bursaries. Bursaries. There we go. There are many different ones, okay? So not just if you're a good student. So there are lots of different scholarships and bursaries. So I'm giving you the word bursaries because you should search for the keyword bursaries as well, not just scholarships, okay? So look for those two keywords, okay? There are lots of different scholarships. Think about aspects that make you unique. Such as an outstanding athlete, okay? So if you have recognition as being really good in sport, you can of course get sports scholarships, okay? So outstanding athlete, artist, musician, volunteer, okay? And then look for bursaries and scholarships that are associated with that. There are lots and lots of websites. Careful of fake scholarships or fake bursaries, okay? So look for authentic websites. Checking with universities is a great place to start, okay? Most universities have a list of scholarships. Okay, so checking with universities where you are applying is the best place to start. They usually have a directory of scholarships. Okay, so Arda, I hope that makes sense. And Arda says, I've got A's and A pluses. So Arda, if you've got A's and A pluses as your average, then there's a very good chance that you can pick up some of these scholarships and bursaries. If you have mostly A's and A pluses, then you have a very good chance to pick up some scholarships and bursaries. Scholarships are usually bigger. They're more money. Bursaries tend to be smaller, but still you can get 2, 3, 4, 5 different bursaries. It adds up to quite a bit of money. Okay, so all right. Okay, nice question, Arda. Yeah, definitely. And if you have those, if you have certain specializations, then definitely go after those scholarships. Okay. All right, let me hop back to the chat. It sounds like some of the members are pinging me, so I'm going to jump back here and hopefully catch somebody else's question. Okay, let's see. I think Calvin has a question here as well. So yeah, absolutely. Are you ready, Calvin? I'm going to call you. Okay. You can ask me a question.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Calvin. How are you doing?
I'm feeling great. How about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty energetic as well. Thanks for asking. So how can I help you, Calvin? What's your question?
I think it's kind of basic questions. I want to ask about like in part two of writing. Well, about the example. I mean, do we need to always give our examples, our experiences, even though in the question maybe it is not stated? I mean, in that case, can we use more general examples, like we can say like in research, blah blah blah, or in my country, blah blah blah. I think, yeah, that's my question, sir.
Okay, it's actually a very good question, Calvin, and it's a question I've heard a few different times over the years because it's quite confusing. The reason for this confusion, Calvin, is a lot of students do not understand what's called the voice of the author. So are you familiar with first, second, third person voice of the author?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to, when you look at the question that you're answering in task 2, you have to figure out whether or not it's asking you for a first person voice or a third person voice. So if the question is asking like use examples from your own experience, give your own opinion, then your example should usually be some personal opinion, especially when the question's topic and controlling idea seem to really reflect like a personal view on the issue. So then in that case, you know, you can say that when I traveled to another country, it was clear that local customs were quite different than in my own home of, and then you give a personal example. But some questions do not ask you for that first person voice. So some questions are very objective. And it will ask something like, what are the advantages of riding a bicycle to work? And then it won't ask like, you know, your own personal opinion. So then you can give a third person voice example. So then your example should be something like, recent research has shown that people who ride bicycles to their workplace tend to earn 30% more than people who drive their cars and have greater life satisfaction. So then it's a third person voice. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and so I can I conclude that if even though it is not stated, but the question is asking about the first person author, then I can give my personal experience, right, sir?
Yeah, exactly. If it's asking you for your personal experience, give your personal experience. If it's not asking you for personal experience, don't give your personal experience. It's kind of, you know, that's the simplest way, I guess, to put it, right? If it says give your own experience or give examples from your own experience, then do that. If it doesn't say that, then you should not do that.
Okay.
Okay, so really pay attention to the question. And when you are in university or doing your post-secondary studies, if it's not clear, always ask the professor, is this a first-person essay or is it a third-person essay? Most university essays are third-person because they're based on research, not so much your personal opinion. Okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the good question, Calvin, and hopefully I'll see you in the next class as well.
Bye-bye, sir.
Okay, bye. All right, so that was Calvin. That was a really good question by Calvin on task 2 examples, because that's really confusing, I think, for a lot of people. And IELTS, unfortunately, doesn't clarify what the essay is. In my personal opinion, IELTS should actually, in task 2, say, this is a persuasive first-person essay, or this is a persuasive third-person essay. And I think that would be fair, because I don't think it's fair to expect candidates to try to guess what that essay is. But that's just my personal opinion, and unfortunately, IELTS might not care too much about my personal opinion. So, okay. All right, let me check the chat here for another question. Okay. Calvin, yeah, I see your question there in the chat as well, which is good. Okay. Okay, good. It looks like we're answering lots of questions based on what I'm seeing in the chat, and I think some of you are asking the same question verbally, which is nice. Okay, Ashish is asking a question here, so I'm going to look at Ashish's question. We've got lots of questions about universities today, which is great. I haven't seen as many of those in the past. So, okay, this is Ashish's question here. Ashish is asking, Sir, I passed 2019 and I took admission in Bachelor of Architecture, and now I want to study abroad. So can I apply for another course, or I have to continue my current course abroad? Okay, so a little bit unclear for me, Ashish. If you applied and you're accepted for a Bachelor in Architecture, that specialization, then obviously if you go to that school, that's what you have to do. But if that's not what you're doing, then you can apply for any other major, okay? Usually you don't need to identify your specialization until your 3rd year. So I'm not sure exactly what you're doing, Ashish, which year you're entering, but it depends on that, okay? So the answer depends on which year of study you are entering. Okay, so a lot of majors have prerequisites, as many of you know. So if you are doing a Bachelor of Architecture, you probably had to do math courses, maybe computer science, perhaps physics. And if you have those core classes and then you're looking to finish your bachelor's abroad, then you have to choose a major which has those what's called prerequisite. Okay, so if you are just starting your post-secondary study, you can choose any major. Okay, so you can do whatever you like. But if you are continuing, so if you're transferring universities, right? If you are continuing your major, then you can only transfer into a major which you have finished the prerequisite courses for. And some majors share prerequisites. So I'm sure there are some majors, like maybe Bachelor of Engineering, that would share the prerequisites for Bachelor in Architecture. So you could transfer fairly easily, but I don't think you could transfer to like a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Sociology. That might be difficult because they have different prerequisites, right? So that's the answer, Ashish. It really depends where you're starting, okay? If you want to go back to year 1, do whatever major you want to do. But if you want to continue from year 3, for example, then you're only going to be able to do the major where you have the prerequisites. If not, then you have to take those prerequisites again. So basically you're going back to year 2 or year 1. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, welcome back, Jonah. All right, students, I'll take one more question from the chat. I think that's working really well for us. So let me take a look. Who is in here that I haven't? Okay, so Nutan has been waiting patiently as well. Okay. Nutan says, hi, sir. I have a few questions. Can I ask? Yes, Nutan, you can. Are you ready? Okay, so let's see if we can. Okay, there's Nutan. So let me reach out to Nutan.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Nutan. How are you?
I'm very good, sir. How are you? How is your day?
It's starting off really well. It's quite early still here, 6:16 in the morning. So, but I'm up and awake and ready to go. All right, Nutan, how can I help you? You said you have a few questions, so let's start with the biggest one. What's your main question?
Yes, sir. Like my main question is like, from past one and a half year, I'm just researching for Canada. So like I just want to move from India to Canada. Like I would say that I've completed my engineering now, and past 5 years I'm working in BIM. So it's called Building Information Modeling. So I just wanted to do the PG diploma on BIM itself from Canada. Like it's in George Brown. So what is your suggestion, sir? So on that.
Okay.
So I can. What is your suggestion on this?
Okay, so let me make sure I understand you clearly. Okay, so your goal is to move from India to Canada,
Yeah.
and specifically you're looking to immigrate. So you're not looking for. So I guess help answer your question, I have a question. Are you looking to come to Canada on a student visa, on a work visa, or an immigration visa?
Student visa, sir. I wanted to do a PG diploma in Canada because I've already completed my bachelor's in India, bachelor's in civil engineering.
Okay.
So and I'm working right now from past 5 years.
Okay.
So I just want upgrade myself.
Okay. Upgrade, not yourself. You're not a robot. You can't upgrade yourself, but you want to upgrade your education. Yeah. Okay. Okay, you want to upgrade your education, and you said you want to go to a PhD. Do you have a master's diploma?
No, I'm in bachelor, so PG diploma. It's postgraduate in diploma in civil engineering. I want to do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, postgraduate.
Okay, so you want a postgraduate diploma. And it sounds like you have some work experience too, which is really good. It's very, very good to have work experience when you're applying for that kind of an upgrade. So you need to go through the steps of applying for your student visa and getting into a master's program. And what have you done so far? So have you researched some universities where they offer that master's? Yes,
sir, I have done that. So I've researched like it's a George Brown College in Toronto.
Okay.
So that's a good college, best college which I have seen so far. So they offer my course which I'm looking.
Okay.
So so that's what I plan to go for.
All right. So it sounds like you're on the right track. One important piece of advice that I have for you, Nutan, is don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And this is kind of for everybody as well. So don't just depend on one school accepting you, because there are so many different variables at work, and it can be very disappointing when you don't get into that one school. So when you're doing your application for master's, I recommend students to look for at least 3 to 5 different schools where you have a chance to continue with your postgraduate studies. Okay, so my most important recommendation for you, Nutan, is find at least 2 other schools where you can submit your application, and then hopefully you get the one that you want to go to the most. But if that doesn't work, then you have a plan B or a plan C. So and that's the most important, is have that plan B, plan C.
Yes, sir. I have to look for that also, but the best is the George Brown for my course. So I thought I can apply only for George Brown. Okay, I would take your advice to apply for minimum of 3.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely. I strongly recommend doing an application for 3 different ones. I know it takes more time. It often takes a bit more money as well, but it gives you a much higher level of guarantee that you will be able to realize your goal to come to Canada and continue your studies here. Okay?
Sure, sir. But with the qualification and with the work experience, so you say that do I get? I mean, will my application will be accepted? What is your?
Yeah, I think you have a good chance. Yeah. So just
Yeah.
from what you've told me so far, I definitely do think that you have the right qualifications for the application to be accepted. So of course you need your IELTS score, right? And then once you have your IELTS
Yes.
score, together with your work experience, together with your academic CV, if you need a statement of purpose, then your statement of purpose, then you should be able to achieve your goal. I definitely think so. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and yes, sir. And my next question is with the listening part. So I was practicing with the listening from the book from Amazon. So what I did, I started with one listening set of questions. So what happened? I scored very less. I would say it's very much 20 out of 40. So but later after with the second question, I scored 28. So it's like sometimes what happens, I would realize that I was correct what I've written. So but when I see the answer, it would be different one. But my understanding, I say, so what is the wrong what we do in listening? Like because I realized that we cannot look for a particular word. We should understand the statement what they have said. So am I right, or what is your thought on that one, sir?
yeah, so the listening can be challenging for sure in this way. You feel like you have the right answer and then you realize you don't have it. What you have to do is you have to look at the transcripts, okay? So especially in that kind of a situation, look for the transcript in the back of the book that explains where the answers are coming from. Make sure you're using books like our books or Cambridge books that include the transcripts. Where you can see the written conversation that's going on. And then you should be able to figure out from seeing the written version what happened, why you got the wrong answer, and then make a note of what it was. So, for example, you didn't catch the negative word. Or the paraphrasing, and then you take a note of that and you go, okay, next time I have to pay more attention to these negative words or this paraphrasing in the situation. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. And yes,
Nutan.
sorry. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. The last question I have. That's the last question. I'm sorry. Last
Go
question
for
is.
it. Go for it, Nutan.
Yeah.
Ask
Thank
one
you,
more.
sir. Yeah. So writing part 2, I have I'm very much comfortable with the speaking and reading and reading. But what happens in the writing part 2? The questions what I've seen. So like I said, I saw the book. So that's from Cambridge itself. I bought Cambridge 16 last year's textbook. So when I saw the part 2 questions, so everything I can understand the question, but I'm not able to formulate myself with the ideas. So I'm a bit scared on part 2 question. So what is your idea on that one? How do I come up during my exam when I in that situation?
Yeah, so I mean, the simple answer there, Nutan, is follow those steps that I'm teaching in the class of visualizing and critically thinking. So when you see the question in the book, Nutan, do you clearly identify the topic of the question? Like, you know how in this week we had the police carrying firearms was the topic, right? We clearly identified that. And then we clearly identified like the controlling idea is how does that influence violence in society? Does it increase or decrease violence in society? So you have to really clearly identify the topic and the controlling idea of the question before you start to write any information. Only once you have done that and once you've thought about that critically can you actually write the essay. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So you cannot ignore those steps. You have to go through those steps, even if your essay ends up being a little bit shorter, because you have to spend a bit more time on gathering the right information. You have to spend that time, because if you write a long essay but it's repetitive and it's about the wrong information, it won't score very well. Okay?
Got it, sir. Okay.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so much, Nutan. Hopefully I'll see you in the next class as well. Those are some really good questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Bye-bye. All right, so that was Nutan. That was really good. All right, and I see lots more questions, students, coming up in the chat as well. Again, everybody, if I didn't have a chance to answer your questions, please send me an email to Adrian@aehelp.com. Okay, that's what you should do. And again, remember, everybody, that you can get a lot of help on our websites. Our websites are aehelp.com, glshelp.com. And we have this special discount code, Tiger9, for a 30% discount. So that's only for the next 3 days. Then that code is done, because of course we're moving out of the Lunar New Year. So once again, students, remember, go to our websites, check out aehelp.com for academic IELTS, and glshelp.com for general IELTS, and sign up for the premium package. Click on the big red buttons there on the websites. Okay, we will be using these websites in the next class as well, so these are the red buttons you want to click on. We'll be using these for our live speaking, so we're going to do speaking practice in the next class, the same way that we did the Q&A in this class. Mal and Bandita, I know I didn't answer your questions in this class. Shab, same thing. Just send me an email, okay? And I'll be happy to answer your questions through email as well. Okay, thank you so much, students, for all of your questions. That's all the time we have for this Q&A class for our members. But again, I will be back in about 30 minutes with speaking part 3 questions that will continue from our cue card yesterday about a relaxing place. So make sure to come back for that. And Bandita, Saab, if I see you in the chat, you will be the first on my list to reach out to. So hopefully I'll catch you all very, very shortly. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for now, but I'll be back in 30 minutes. So see you shortly. Bye for now.